Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of November 1st, 2021. In terms of the stock market predictions, and by market I mean mainly Dow Jones and Nasdaq, I think Monday through Thursday we'll see down moves, and on Friday I think there's a slight chance of market reversing to up. In terms of the specific influences for each individual day of the week, I think that on Monday, there's going to be increased focus on things like communication and transportation, and there may be a mix of news. For example, if there was a delay in shipment or delay in travel, we may see actually news about the speed of, travel or shipments increasing, or things basically opening up where some project may be moving faster, like a deal, for example, is being reached where previously maybe some negotiations have stalled, or there may be just things that are kind of going to be proceeding faster. That includes literally winds may have been maybe picking up, and maybe some flight reaches faster because of strong winds. At the same time, there may also be just in news about an increasing number of sales transactions, trips, deals, just increased number of sort of projects or issues that perhaps are getting developed or also going through and being passed or being resolved at the same time. However, also at the same time, for communication, transportation, as well as retail sales, for those areas, there may be news on Monday about increased governmental regulations or regulations that are imposed by large established corporations. So there, unfortunately, obviously, that would be most likely seen as negative and something that actually, again, is an excessive burden of some sort. At the same time, if there are, again, some high-level negotiations, generally speaking, among, large corporations or at the government level, those kind of negotiations that, again, more or less will involve things like communication, transportation industries, perhaps retail sales, like social media, journalists, cars, airplanes, and things of that nature. Those kind of negotiations at this time on Monday and actually into Tuesday may see situations where one party may be negotiating from the position of, power, but also abusing that power. Maybe they're using some underhanded tactics, being manipulative, even bullying the other side into basically accept an agreement of some sort. And if a deal is reached at this time, it will be unlikely to be sort of fair. So one or more of the parties, again, depending on how many parties, of course, are participating, may be quote-unquote winners, and they will pressure the other parties into basically submitting. So at this time, it's not the best time for negotiating if indeed the outcome is expected to be sort of fair and balanced. And like I said, Monday, weather-wise, may see excessive winds, and so that may affect, of course, say flights, or even may lead to increased number of car accidents, again, due to specifically excessive winds. Then for the US, this whole time period, and I already commented on it starting last week, and this influence will last through about mid-November, and especially significant dates will be November 4th and 8th through the 10th. For the US, there will be Saturn transit toward over its southern node, south node of the moon, and that happens to be highlighting the opposition between the 2nd and the 8th houses in the US chart, which have to do with things like finance, taxes, earnings, rates, debt, loans, etc., things like that. And of course, 8th house also has to do with things like secrets, anything that's underground, like mining, for example, or burials, or death, literally, or death and rebirth. Some project ends and something begins anew. And Saturn, again, is associated with things like old age, things that are outlived, things that are sort of dying, decaying, crumbling, and or it also likes to impose structure. And again, of course, death, the ultimate sort of structure where one can't move. So for some reason, it would be associated with things like delays, increased regulations, or sort of ending of one cycle, beginning of another. It could be, as I mentioned last week, a associated with finance, for one, because of the second and eighth house involvement, and specifically with transition that maybe involves restructuring of a large company, restructuring of some sort of financial entity, an ending to sort of some sort where maybe a leader steps down, a leader is removed, or a leader passes away, or again the sort of the role of that leader is no longer is such that that leader is no longer in power. At the same time, again, Saturn also rules things like losses, reduction, delays. So again, if there is, say, a bank or some financial entity, and there's either an ongoing negotiation or a project, or even ongoing just operations that involve transactions, say not selling, but sending money, or but really anything that has to do with just processing data, maybe currencies, cryptocurrencies, assessing value of something. All of those areas may experience in the US from, again, sometime last week rather, into mid-November, they may experience either delays, increased governmental regulations, some situations that involve restructuring of how things actually are done. There may even be loss of service, or something that's preventing people, for example, withdrawing their money or sending money, or just delays in processing financial data, for example, as well as loss of value. So maybe there's reports by financial entities about financial losses, for example, or delays in reporting earnings, or reduced earnings, or concerns about reduced earnings. So basically, that's not a very auspicious time for financial institutions, or we can expect problematic news that are related specifically to finance, earnings, rates, USD value, and taxes, insurance, tariffs, and things of that nature. And I specifically looked at what kind of situations had transpired in the US in the past that under this similar types of transits, either conjunction of Saturn to the south node of the moon for the US, or perhaps other difficult transits like 90 degrees, or opposition. And basically what I've seen is, yes, indeed, there were some problems. For example, in one occasion, there was some incident where I guess George H.W. Bush was having a banquet with Prime Minister of Japan, and he started like vomiting or something, and fell ill at the time. And also there was a situation where basically IBM at that time, back in 92, announced the really large loss of almost $5 billion at the time, again, when that similar transit was occurring. So again, this could be, again, financial loss. There also were bank runs, again, back in like, back in the early of last century. So I'm not necessarily expecting a bank run, or literally like bank shutting down and not allowing somebody to withdraw their money, although back in like FDR time, indeed, that's what had occurred. There were like bank runs and then bank holiday after that, and some subsequent regulation, basically to assure people that banks were stable. But something along the same lines, and indeed what I have seen on the 1st of November, that there was news that Barclays Bank had announced that their CEO is actually stepping down due to some investigation related to Epstein. So that's, again, right now, this was on the 1st of November. And as I mentioned, this influence is actually going to be in place through mid-November, and important times would be the 4th and then 8th through the 10th of November. So some more similar situations that either highlight some issues with banks, issues with, again, financial institutions, or individual leaders who either themselves are, say, CEOs of the banks, or prominent leaders that are, again, very wealthy, or somehow, again, their business relates to the 2nd and 8th house matters, which, again, could be mining, for example. It doesn't have to be, finance, but mining, or, of course, banks. Those are the key areas to look for. So generally then, going back to the daily sort of highlights for Tuesday, as I mentioned, I think Tuesday and Monday and even through Thursday will be down days. And then Tuesday, we will continue seeing increased focus on communication, transportation, and retail sales. However, that's sort of a positive influence that is there on Monday where things can kind of proceed faster, perhaps more, deliveries are made or people are traveling faster, etc. On Tuesday is not going to be there, but there's going to be continuing influence on Tuesday where there may be difficult negotiations that are done under some kind of a duress, or one party sort of accusing another party or blackmailing them or manipulating them, or perhaps using some secret hidden information, or is just one party is kind of not playing fair. Maybe they're hiding some financial information basically. And so that will continue on Tuesday as well. And at the same time, generally outside of just communication, transportation, and retail sales, negotiations that are taking place or news that come out on Tuesday may have this undertone of basically some secret info may be revealed, something that has been previously again suppressed or hidden or missed now may be reported in the public eye. And at the same time, there may be concerns about, again, excessive regulations, where maybe they may be seen like something is being policed too much, or there's excessive force, and or the news themselves actually may involve literally police or some sort of services that are like that, like some, I don't know, guards or something like that, or investigators of some sort. And there may be, again, some negative news around that, so maybe news or concerns about some, protests, or, for example, some dangerous situations that involve, again, either police or something that's being guarded, but again, something that comes up that is basically is negative and troubling. And again, this may be along the lines of some scandal or something that's been buried finally by some journalists, maybe like some whistleblower comes forward, or some scandalous info involving powerful leader is uncovered, for example. Or again, there just are concerns about some entities or some groups' excessive kind of use of force or policing. It could be literally the police force, maybe some, police brutality situation, or it could be some group just basically using excessive force to dominate and manipulate another entity in some discussions. Again, it could be related especially to communication, transportation, journalism, social media, but it could really be involving any sort of negotiations that take place at the time. So again, if you are involved in such situations or arguing with somebody about something, this may be a good day to kind of skip that and postpone the argument until a different day of the week. So for Wednesday and Thursday then, the 3rd through the 4th of November, there may be some surprising news, or some even shocking developments, or something that's unexpected and comes sooner perhaps than expected, related to Forex, cryptocurrencies, currencies of course in general, but also finance, earnings, banks, any sort of financial institutions in general, rates. And so the announcements may be more likely unwelcome, and again, they're either going to be surprising themselves, or something about the expected announcements could be surprising, such as if there's a new leader, the surprise may be as, in financial area, like who the actual leader is, or what the actual, rate is, or the actual value may turn out to be different than what's expected. And that, I think, may bring market down, because the situation may be seen as unstable, and there may be concerns about just too much volatility. I think there may be increased, regardless of the direction. I think it will be down, but regardless, I think there will be increased volatility, both in terms of just markets in general, but especially related to banks, currencies, cryptocurrencies in particular. And again, that's just because there may be perceived instability in some of those areas due to these kind of untimely surprises, sudden sort of developments, even potentially either loss of service or things that are provided in some unusual way, and again, not through the means that would normally be provided. Maybe, some bad weather and somebody's flying somebody and they end up being, in a wrong sort of location due to some unpredictable, suddenly occurring circumstances. And again, there may be continuing sort of focus this week on the things that are discoveries, investigations yielding some revealing some secrets or revealing hidden info, and especially, again, it may involve, yet again, finance or somebody's earnings. So maybe they're hiding some taxes or misreporting their earnings somehow, or again, there's a buried treasure discovered through some archaeological find, for example. So it doesn't have to be necessarily negative, but something that's been buried before, and somebody perhaps didn't want that secret financial info to be revealed. Perhaps they're, misusing funds, for example, and some journalist or some whistleblower comes up with that information. And again, this could be also, of course, a surprising, shocking kind of event on Wednesday or Thursday as well. So either way, this may bring kind of concerns about either stability or the expectations about something that is supposed to be proceeding kind of in a controlled, sort of a stable manner may not be there again, at least for Wednesday and Thursday. And that, I think, may result in excessive volatility in the market, currencies volatility, and most likely, in my opinion, market going down on those days. Friday, I think, is going to be, of all the days of the week, a little bit less stressful. Therefore, I think it may reverse to up, just because we will then be past the kind of concerns about these manipulative negotiations, or concerns about these sudden surprises that may come up. So Friday seems to be a little bit more kind of stable. And again, an up day. However, starting Friday night, as early as Friday night, then this upcoming weekend and into, I'd say, 19th of November, we're going to actually see some new sort of wave, I guess, of new influence starting to creep up, or not necessarily creep up, but developing. And I mentioned that before. Basically, it will have to do with Mars going into difficult transits with first Saturn, then Uranus. And those typically coincide with, again, some difficulties from just bad weather, where you have some, large earthquakes, or just really bad weather, especially when Mars will be forming a difficult transit with Uranus the week of the 15th of November, like lightning, for example, storms, loss of electricity, etc. So basically, it may start as early, again, the beginning sort of initial energy of this upcoming transit may start to sort of develop as early as Friday night, but it will especially pick up next week. So 8th through the 19th, it may see much kind of a stronger effect. So the week of November 8, we will have both Mars and Mercury squaring Saturn. And again, this may have to do with problems for, yet again, communication, transportation, news, media, social media, anything that needs to be maybe quickly moved somewhere. Mars quickly moved, or flown, or delivered by car. That's your Mercury. And those two planets squaring Saturn, we will probably see, again, delays in transportation, delays in deliveries, delays in communication about those areas. And again, either earthquakes or potentially accidents where something that's old, like Saturn, may crumble and basically fall apart due to, again, excessive winds, excessive speeds, maybe like an old car or old building where something is hit with excessive winds, or the car or some vehicle is moving too fast and then it suddenly comes to an abrupt stop. Something falls off the mountain because the car maybe is driving too fast. So that's the influence for the week of the 8th of November. Some structural damage, again, due to fire, due to winds, due to excessive speed, or due to even attacks, explosions. That's Mars. And again, with Mercury being there, this again focuses on communication, transportation, social media, journalists, etc., or at the very minimum, verbal arguments. That's for the following week, the 8th. And then the week after that is going to be the 15th of November, and we will have Mars at that time. Let's see, what will Mars do? Mars will be opposing Uranus, and at that time, again, bad storms, some sudden power fluctuations, literally like some abrupt power loss, perhaps due to storms, due to lightning strikes, etc. Some, transformer may explode. And also, again, increased probability of accidents due to either excessive speed or some uncontrollable speed. And Uranus really is a planet of surprises, but also it rules things like airspace, electricity, airplanes, and any sort of things that move really fast and move in, not move, but rather like networks, distributed, technology of some sort. So maybe like a outage for social network, outage that involves airplanes. And again, something that comes out very fast, but perhaps also is resolved quickly. So maybe there's some closure of an airport due to some threat, like Mars is threats. But then it also is resolved quickly as well. But because of these two planets opposing each other from Scorpio and into Taurus, yet again, the focus may be on the finance, currencies, cryptocurrencies in particular, Forex, of course, taxes, loans, rates, anything like that. And that's when, again, there may be some sudden, abrupt value fluctuations, including for cryptocurrencies, but any really financial entities, banks, or entities that are involved in, again, mortgages, loans, taxes, tariffs, insurance, etc. And there may be some sudden changeabouts where an ongoing project is suddenly canceled, or some new agreement under completely different terms is suddenly being, designed, or again, there's a service outage, the access to financial, source of finance is suddenly becomes unavailable, but then it reappears. Again, maybe there's a decision and there's an outcry and it's changed. So definitely some volatility, sudden, losses of value perhaps, or sudden gain of value, but more likely losses. And also just generally speaking, time of potential accidents, some unexpected fires, explosions. And with Mars being in Scorpio specifically, those could involve underground locations. So literally some sort of, underground parking structure perhaps, or mine, or underground storage of some sort catches fire, etc. Or anything that has to do with waste, recycling. So there may be incidents or accidents involving, some polluting kind of circumstances that, again, either have previously been hidden and suddenly they're obvious to everyone. It could be a situation where there was a fire burning underground, and then finally the week of 15th of November it is revealed for everyone to see. Or it could have been a financial situation that's quote-unquote fire or burning, but it's been successfully hidden until the week of November 15th. In any case, those couple weeks before us are looking kind of more stressful, both in general for, say, people's health, for kind of a hard time for reaching agreements, because again, there's just a lot of difficult energies, and obviously some percentage of population will have those transits affecting their individual charts, so they may feel not so well physically, or they may just feel distracted by too many obligations, etc. And so basically, this is the time, definitely, I would say, not necessarily the best time for, say, vacation, or not the best time for reaching kind of amicable agreements, or expecting an easy kind of peaceful time. Of course, depending on your personal chart, it may be different for you individually, but I would say, without knowing any other details, that the upcoming 2 weeks of the 8th and the 15th are a good time to kind of perhaps wait that out if you indeed want to, say, enter into an important agreement, or reach some sort of a important, or start an important project, because it will not be an auspicious time to have that as your sort of beginning chart, starting chart for your new venture, or starting chart for, say, a wedding or something like that. I would say that would not be the time to do that. Of course, people may have other plans already. So on this, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope that despite some ongoing difficult transits, you're doing well, and come back and check me out next week. So best of luck, everyone. Until next time, bye.